Alright guys, so we're going to move into tracing a longer shot. Now what I brought up earlier when I first started making this video, it's the same thing I said in my previous tutorial. Unless you have a super good camera with high resolution, it's going to be difficult to see a golf ball all the way to where it lands, especially if it's like over 200 yards. I always use like the latest GoPro, so like this vlog you're looking at was filmed with a GoPro Hero 9 Black. I use it because it's super convenient, because it's super small, and the tripod, when it's at full size, it's like the same size as a golf club. And I can slide it down in my bag easy, and I can record pretty high quality shots with it. You have to find little tips and tricks and use your little eyeball and just use a little bit of your knowledge on the golf course just to trace these longer shots. And I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean here. Unless you have someone with you filming and then zooming in on your shot, you're almost never gonna see the ball land when it's a good long distance. And even if you did do that, it would require 3D tracking, like creating cameras in After Effects and things like that, which I have done in some of my vlogs, but that's a tutorial for another time. I'm gonna show you how I do it with my GoPro Hero 9. Like I said, it's not ideal. An iPhone on a 4K setting would probably be better. All right, so we're gonna hop right in here. This vlog I filmed in particular, I did not have any really good drives. You don't use driver a lot on this course, it's pretty short. But this is the least worst of all my drives on the back 9. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna find impact position, the closest frame to it, which would be right there. And you're always gonna go one frame back, which is right there. And I know that impact position is really, really bad, but hey, this was from last October, so I can just hope it's improved. So I'm just gonna let it play through. And I know it lands somewhere in through here. So like I said, I'm just gonna let that play through. And I'm gonna go back to the same thing. You know you've cut the clip here by using your razor tool that we found over here. And I clipped it right here. I would not recommend using this entire clip, because what happens is you'll edit it and then that's the entire clip. So your transitions here, like here, they all get ruined. Then you can't resize the video like you want. Like, you know, like see, this is zoomed in a little bit. So I'd always recommend just, if you leave one sliver of this, just enough to leave your transitions in between clips, then that's fine. That's all you need. Alright, so same thing as before. I've got this clip isolated. Now I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna go replace with an After Effects composition. And when I did that, you can see After Effects lit up down here because it dynamically linked this file. So as I edit this in After Effects here, it will change in Premiere Pro. This is something I do to save time, big one. So this is obviously the previous line we just worked on. I'm gonna go over here to my, I'm not sure what this is called. I guess, is this your composition panel? I'm not sure. I'm gonna go over here, just pick highlight shape layer, Control C, which is copy. Then I'm gonna go right here and click back into my new composition I'm working on, and just Control V, which will kind of just pull this shape layer over here. Now obviously this is not gonna be the shape of the new ball unless you hit the exact same shot every hole, which would be amazing. This might not be the most elegant way to do this, but this is the way I've learned to do it. So I'm gonna open this up just to show you here. So you're gonna make sure shape layer is still highlighted over here. And then grab your pen tool by clicking it up here or pressing G. And then we're just gonna start just like we're creating a new shot shape. So you'll see once I click that, over here, a new shape was formed. So now I got shape 2. And like I said, this is not the most elegant way, but the easiest way I found to do it is just, I'll just delete shape 1, and then I'll just do that all the way to the end. It just saves a little bit of time, because what it does, I'm gonna pull up shape 2 here. It pulls a lot of your settings over that would be annoying to fix. And a lot of them it doesn't, but many it does. So we're gonna do the same thing. So we got our new shape here, where the ball is. I wanna get rid of fill, because I'm not making a filled object. And then, once you open up stroke, you'll see the color stayed the same, the stroke width stayed the same. But for some reason, it doesn't pull these settings. Like, you know, we'll switch this back to round cap. And I think that's the only thing. And it doesn't bring your taper settings, which is fine. We don't really, every shot will be a little bit different. So I'm gonna do the same thing I do whenever I take my path and follow the ball. First thing I'll do is remove stroke, just because I don't want to distracted by all the color. And just like we talked before, my line has been deselected because it's circular. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna click, just take my pen tool and you'll see it turns into a little arrow and just click it. And now I'm active again. Same thing as before. I'm gonna advance frame by frame with page up, page down, or you can macro your own keys. Like I said, I use the tilde and the 1. And, oh yeah, I forgot. Sometimes your trim paths will come along where I copied and pasted, and honestly the best thing to do is, this is the animation from the previous line. I don't have to explain why that wouldn't work for sure, so just go ahead and delete it. Alright. Now I'm going to advance frame by frame and I'm going to follow this golf ball as far as I can before I can't see it anymore. Alright, so we've gotten to this point. I just wanted to stop for a second. You can follow this ball perfectly as far as you want. You'll notice once you get really close and zoomed in, like I'm at 800% now, there's tiny imperfections in this line just because the camera is not going to film. That ball's only going to be so many pixels once it gets so far away. So you can eyeball it and just do little things like, you can see obviously this line is not following the curvature. It's kind of concave, so you just eyeball it and just move it up just a shade. See, that looks a lot better. Now when you do that, you'll see that this square that I selected to move that in, just like this, it's filled now. It's a solid square. You want to make sure that before you continue animating the line, that you make sure the very last point is selected and filled in like that. Because what happens is if you don't, if you move this, just like I did, and then forget, and then try to advance the line, you're going to create a new shape. And we don't want that. So when I did that, so you see when I did that, shape 3 popped up, and I don't want that, so I'll delete that. So that's the thing. Make sure if you move this line to fix anything, curvature, make sure when you go to advance the line, you make sure to fill that in. We're at the top of the line here, and you can see the ball's definitely, it's just becoming artifact at this point. It's very difficult to see. What I'll do is I'll follow it to the best of my ability, because I can see shades and shadow, and right here the ball starts going down a little bit, and it's a really touchy process. So that's honestly about as far as I can see as far as the travel of the ball. So there's some little imperfections here, just a little bit. I can see it's just not curved perfectly, so I'm kind of a perfectionist or obsessive, whatever you want to call it, so I'll always move it around a little bit. Once I've gotten that point, I've traced that as far as I can actually physically see it with my eyes. I'm gonna go back to my project in Premiere. I've pre-cut my vlogs. I've already hit this drive. The next clip will already be exactly where I should be hitting it. I know kind of how far I hit it. I could tell how long it was in the air. I can see it's right next to the cart path, and I can see it's close to this water. I'll just use that. So I'll pull this, I'll go back to After Effects. So I can see there's that body of water right here. And plus, I was physically there. I know the course. I want to pull this line. I know that ball is about, I can see it traveling. And sometimes, I don't do it as much now, but sometimes it helps to just actually watch the video. And then you see the ball. See, I can actually, I've played golf enough. I can actually see that ball travel. So I can like follow it. You can tell kind of where it's going to be. Just watching that, probably right here, just like that. Then obviously, that's not how a golf ball would travel. That line looks horrible. So you just got to kind of eyeball it. Kind of just add 4 or 5 points down through here to make this a little more curved and a little more like a golf ball would actually fly. This is just something that takes practice. Obviously it's going to fall more straight down, so it's probably close to there. Towards the end it has to get a little more straight. And 99% of the time, if people are watching your vlogs, they're not going to notice unless it's just crazy bad. To me, that looks fairly good. That's probably exactly how that ball traveled. Actually, I'm probably going to put a little more curvature to it there. A little bit there. And a little bit here. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. At this point, I'm gonna hop back down and turn my stroke back on. To animate, I usually like to go ahead and use the taper, and it's a driver, so I usually do like 75, and it's usually the go-to 75, 25 is the easiest way to remember it. I'm gonna do the same things before. Like I said, I always close this just because it helps my workspace tidy up a little bit. I'm gonna go to add, trim paths. Just like before. When you add trim paths, make sure we go all the way back to the beginning of the clip, just like that. Make sure we toggle keyframes on for end. Make sure we go to 0, and that doesn't have to be done in that order. You can do it as long as this is 0 and it's at the beginning of this clip before you push toggle keyframe on end. All right, there we are. Not much different. Obviously, we're just gonna frame by frame follow the ball. I'm gonna stop it here. I want you guys to make sure you understand what I was doing, what I mentioned earlier. So I'm gonna follow this. It's not exactly perfect. So here's the ball. You can barely see it. It's at 71.4. You just kind of get a feel for it. So I always want to push 71.5. So there's this big gap again between these keyframes. I just want you guys to make sure you understand. I always go back. If you see me jump that far, you'll always see me go back and watch it. Frame by frame, because you see the ball's not perfectly following it. So I go about halfway, probably a little bit before. So it's a 68.5. You just kind of get the feel for it. It's like 69.2. And that was perfect. And then I'll watch it there, and it's perfect. And then we're going to just keep following it. And it stayed with it pretty well. It could probably cheat up, probably like just a hair, just like that. Same as before. Once you get to the top, there's going to be a big change in speed. That golf ball's obviously going to slow down a lot. So I'm going to go back, make sure if I jump that far, I got to go back and make sure that the ball is staying on path. So it's probably 73.1. Yep. And it's following it pretty well. It's following it pretty well. Especially when it gets to the apex, especially with a driver. The ball's going to go up, and from your line of sight, from the camera and from the golfer's sight, that ball sits still from your perspective for a long time, but you know, obviously it's going. I always make sure I put as many keyframes as possible at the top, because it's gonna go obviously a lot slower, and it just looks more realistic, especially if you can actually see pieces of the ball. On a really clear day, if you record one of these vlogs, like against a really blue sky, it's a lot easier to see. So I can barely see my ball now. I'm gonna follow it all the way to the point where we can't see it anymore, which is about right there. So I think I see some artifact there. That's most likely the ball, and if it's not, it's pretty dang close. Now this is the part that everybody could do different. At this point, I'll usually re-watch the swing, and just my knowledge of playing golf and my own golf swing, I can tell when it should have hit the ground. In my later videos, you can hear me saying hit, because when I go to edit, I can actually hear myself, so I know for a fact when it hit. Before I thought of that, you just have to like feel it out. I'm gonna watch this video. So the ball's up, the ball's coming down, and it probably hit just now. At that point, that's where I'll put 100%. As I've gotten a little bit better at this in practice, sometimes I'll change it to where it falls slower at first and then faster at the end. And there's a really easy way to do that. But the best thing to do after that is just to watch and see if the line looks good. It actually does. See now, I feel like it kind of falls slow at the end. If you really want to get obsessive like I have been before, you can watch it and know that, oh, it should fall slower right there. You don't have to do this. This is just something I do sometimes. I watched it to that point. I feel like it should fall slower there. It shouldn't be falling the same speed here as it is for the rest of it. I just throw in a keyframe. This is a little trick. So I'm watching it. I want it to fall a little bit slower from here to here, so I put this keyframe in, so I'm just gonna move him out a little bit. And at the same time, that makes it fall from the apex here, slower to here, but as I move that, the gap between the ending keyframe actually speeds up. And sometimes you'll watch that and think, well, it probably landed before that. All you gotta do is take this and move it in just a shade. To me, that is probably about as good as I'll get with that driver. And it falls faster at the end. That's perfect. And another thing I like to do just for looks when I'm doing my vlogs, if you've watched them, you've seen it. At this point, I'm gonna go over to trim paths again and click start. And just move over a few frames all the way up to 100%. So what that does is it just makes your line disappear in kind of like a neat way. So it might take a minute to render, but we'll watch. All right. Shoop, straight back. That's tracing a driver and then actually, you know, tidying it up at the end. That finishes up the second video of my series of how to trace shots in Premiere Pro and After Effects. That was the longer shot. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this tutorial and you want me to make another tutorial on something you've seen me create on here, I'd be happy to do it. Just leave something in the comment sections that lets me know. But either way, stay tuned for part 3 and thanks for watching.